And continuing on with our terrain mesh, Lee.
All right, we are going to work on our other constructor, the one that we use for our instance trained mesh. So this will be a public terrain mesh. We're not going to take in any arguments on this one, but we do need to finish initializing the rest of those properties that we created several videos back. So we'll start off with mesh object. This is going to be a new game object, and I will give it the name of terrain mesh. Now it's a terrain mesh. All right, so now it's a terrain mesh. We'll also set up a mesh filter, and that didn't work out exactly the way I wanted it to. So mesh filter class property equals new mesh filter, and that won't work right either. How about if I do mesh object dot add component, and I add a mesh filter to it that way. That will probably work a little bit better for me, just a guess. So that will add a mesh filter component to our mesh object. Want to do the same thing with the mesh renderer. So I'm going to take our mesh renderer property. That's going to equal mesh object dot add component, send in a mesh renderer. Now you might want to think that, hey, okay, well, Collider is going to be next. I'm not going to put Collider on yet. There's a reason for that. So, but I'll get to that in a little bit. Actually, I'll be in the next video when we're talking about update. I'll explain why we're not going to define a mesh collider yet. But the other things I want to do is I want to set the mesh object to be isStatic. So I'll set that to true. I'm going to take our mesh. I'm going to assign that when I get the right one. So mesh equals our mesh filter dot mesh, and I'm going to set the mesh renders shared material equal to the material that we loaded inside of our static constructor. So that will handle everything that we need with the exception of the collider for the initial part of displaying our mesh. We still can't see anything yet because we've not assigned anything to that mesh. So what we'll do now is assign the base mesh, the stuff that we just spent all the last 3 videos creating.
Right.
Where we created those vertices, those UVs, and the triangles. That is all part of our base mesh. That's the static mesh that never changes. We're going to take that and we're going to create a copy of that in our arrays, the instanced arrays, all of these. So we're going to fill this information with some of the information we've already generated. Now, not all of it's there yet, like the normals, tangents, and colors, so we're just going to assign those to new arrays. But the vertices, UVs, and triangles we can assign now. So we're going to say vertices equals our base vertices to array. We'll take our UVs, and we'll set those equal to the base UVs. Again, sending it to array. Our triangles equals base triangles to array. And then we're going to take our normals and assign those to a new vector 3 array of size base vertices dot count. So that will make sure that we have as many normals as we have vertices. We'll do the same thing with tangents. And the same thing with colors. So this will get our instantiated constructor in place. So this is pretty much everything we need for this one. The next video is where we're going to take all this information and we're going to assign it to our mesh, get a couple of other properties of our mesh straightened out, and deal with that mesh collider. Once all that's done, we should see a flat mesh on our screen.
Sounds awesome. All right. Well, with that, that's going to wrap up this video. Thanks a lot.